the story is it's about this group of Z tier supervillains, and they're these cartoons characters who exist in this city, and it's just about their antics as they're looking for a hero to fight, because they need someone to take them seriously. It's a lot of fun. It's a comedy. I recommend it to anyone watching. But that's the pitch. Feel free to if you can pitch it better, but
No, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I kind of forgot to give the pitch after you asked me to. In retrospect, that was not the right play. But enough talking like a basketball coach. But no, yeah, I mean it's kind of a set in a world of heroes and villains, but it kind of focuses on, I guess, the dregs of a heroic society. Yeah, Z tier. It's a tier people don't even really think of, right? You typically think of F tier. That's how low they are. Um, and I guess it's just really interesting, just because that was always the plot, right? Was it's following misadventures of these villains who just suck at their job, basically. I mean, they're really bad at it, and that's kind of the premise. And Looney Tune antics ensue. Um,
hmm
but I guess it's just interesting, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. But uh, the story was like a much wide, I want to say a little bit wider of a scope, and I think this was at the time, and this was years and years ago when we first started talking about this. Um,
do you remember how long ago it was? Because it all started with the character, right? Like it all started with like the Quizzler's character.
yeah,
I don't remember if this was already, was it 2019? Was it 2020? Do you remember?
this was like before COVID, so this was 2019. I want to say maybe even 20 like 18, and I almost want to pull up
Yeah.
let me I want to see. I have some notes that I don't think these were like right when we talked about it, but basically, um
Never before seen behind the scenes material.
I mean this is let's see. I've got like a list of Punctuation Pals characters. So the last edit was in 2021, but I do remember this
Ooh.
was like, I want to say pretty confidently it was 2019, because the story is, and I want to kind of get into that, is the story is Joe and I are at Arby's, as we often are, and we're having this discussion, and I don't know, somehow we start talking about Batman villains, and this was before Robert Pattinson's The Batman was even announced, like, I'll say that much. And we started talking about the Riddler, and somehow some joke came about where I was like, what if he was called the Diddler? Um, and that was it was it's peak comedy, but then we started talking about this hypothetical Diddler and how he was just like, what if he was just like a loser version of Riddler? And this was all, the idea was it was all set in like Gotham. It was set in the DC universe. It was just like a Batmite almost version of the Riddler. And then the joke kind of started about him having a Punctuation Pals group, where he's a question mark and someone else is a comma and someone's an exclamation mark. And eventually, we really settled on the idea. This was like not very long after we talked about it, but we settled on this idea that like, oh, maybe we don't call him the Diddler, but that was just an idea we suddenly had. And it was maybe a great idea.